What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another patch notes update. Today we have 10.8, The Last Airbender. I believe they have new skins and stuff like that. Still Season of Souls. But yeah, I feel like we just went over 10.7 not too long ago, the bonus balance at least. I think a little over a week ago, so this is actually really quick compared to the other ones, I believe. But yeah, here we are, 10.8. Let's get into this. So, as usual, the URL for the update notes will be in the description below if you want to take a look at it yourself. But with that out of the way, let's get into this. So, one thing that I noted last time is that Hi-Rez seems to be on a roll in terms of updates, at least. Like, buffing, nerfing, and changing certain things that need to be changed. That's just my opinion. I know a lot of people out there have different opinions, but compared to what they've done before, this is a lot better, or at the very least in a step in the right direction. So hopefully they follow up with this one, 10.8. This is going to be a bigger one, obviously, as this is a full number, 0.8, not a bonus bounce, so this should be a lot. And by the title of this video, I've seen a few of the things that they're going to go over. So yeah, it's very spicy changes for our Joust mains that are watching this. But yeah, let's get into this. So, we got some new skins, Toph. I don't watch Avatar that much, even though I should. I know Toph. Roku? Yu Huang? I know he's like the big bad guy, I think. But yeah. Cool skins, got a Donza skin, but we're not going over that. We're going over the good stuff. And see, bug fixes, quality of life, cool, balance, 10.8. Now this is one thing I'm gonna go over. I don't know about you, but I absolutely hate the soul surges. I am so glad they removed it from all game modes. Now, if you are a person who doesn't play, who only plays Conquest, it's so annoying for any other game modes, specifically Joust and things that require your respawn timers, or to make plays based off your respawn timers. I can't tell you how many times in Joust we get a kill, the soul surge comes out, and then we get another kill, and then that person now, instead of having like a 40-second respawn timer, now has like a 20-second respawn timer. It's just so annoying. I want it out of the game. It's finally out of the game. Thank you, Hi-Rez. I hated soul surges. Not only that, the benefits from it didn't outweigh the cons. Like, you got a little bit of XP and gold. But the annoying... I can't tell you how many times I had my back stopped because of this stupid thing. And then, yeah, of course, the respawn timers. In Conquest, it didn't affect them. But in every other non-Conquest game mode, it reduced your respawn cooldowns to whoever is in it and then dies. So that shit was annoying as fuck. I'm glad it's gone. So that is one thing that I'm really happy about. I mean, I don't fault Hi-Rez for trying new things, but you know, when things kind of suck, you just gotta take the L on the chin and move on. But we move. So Conquest, getting some changes there to the Stygian Beacon as well as the Titan. Enhanced Fire, cool. Arena is getting some cool things to it. Fire Giant in the middle, some Pyrocast boulders. I don't play Arena that much anymore, but from what I've seen, it looked pretty cool. From like the small clip that they sent like yesterday, I think. It was pretty cool. And then, here we are. Joust. Spicy. So I did watch this. They're re-adding all of the starter items except Sentinels, Benevolence, War Flag, Lona's Mask, and their upgrades. There's so much to unpack here. And they're banning Emp Armor as well. So there's only like, this is it. This is all the things that are adding to Joust. Not much anything, but it's more about the substance within it, because there is so many things happening here. Now, I wrote down a few things. I'm going to be making a video soon about this, going over the new changes, like the meta, how the items are going to affect it. Seeing as these items right here, the busted starters are not going to be in here, so it's definitely going to change something that, or we're going to be in a meta that I don't think we've ever been in before, because we never had this happen. So definitely a couple of things that I'm going to be going over just like a broad explanation of what's going to be happening in Joust that's coming up soon. But I do have a couple of notes here. I wanted to add just like a very basis idea of what I'm going to be going over, and sort of a couple of things that I'm thinking about, just as like a prelude, I guess. So with all of the changes to where these items, the tank items, we're just going to call them tank items for now, the tank starter items. With them being removed, traditional tanks that have a lot of peel, have a lot of setup, that don't necessarily have a lot of damage are going to be nerfed. And that is because of two things. So the first thing is, basically any tank would be really good on these, with these items in the game, and using Heroism or Sentinel's Boon or Sentinel's Embrace, or even War Flag upgrades. It's good on every tank, but specifically on traditional tanks, seeing as it gave you gold, it gave you prots for your teammates, Heroism was broken, attack speed on War Flag, like all the extra things that made it crazy, the extra gold, so everything. Traditional tanks really thrived on that, and seeing as traditional tanks are not going to have access to this means that they're already sort of not as good, because the second thing that's going to make this change dramatic and make them not as good is due to mages and hunters and warriors and assassins, basically all the guys that have damage. They're going to have access to Sands of Time, Conduit Gem, Death's Toll, Bluestone, Sigil, and then specifically Warrior's Axe. They should have added Warrior's Axe to this, I believe. Warrior's Axe is and has been one of the most broken items in Joust, and so they're not getting rid of that. Which means that all the other guys that have damage, like mages, hunters, assassins, and warriors, they're getting a buff with every other starter item, while traditional tanks aren't. So gods like maybe Ganesh, Geb, I'm trying to think of other traditional tanks, Sylvanas maybe, like those type of gods are not going to be doing as well because of that. It's sort of like a teetering thing where somebody gets buffed, somebody gets nerfed slightly, but because of that, it makes the class a lot worse than the other. So that's one thing that I'm going to be talking about. And I think that with all of that, I think warriors are going to be really broken. They're going to have a lot of potential for damage with Warrior's Axe. They can go Bluestone. Okay, I wouldn't say that they're going to be broken, but they're going to be really good. They're going to be extremely good. They're going to be doing a lot more damage, specifically with Warrior's Axe or even Bluestone. And then subsequently with assassins, they can either go Bluestone, Warrior's Axe, Sigil. And that's just going to make them even better. Warrior's Axe really gets them online early in the game, so they're going to be even better. So, I mean, think of like Ravana with Warrior's Axe, and then eventually into, just my segue here, into Sundering Axe. Sundering Axe, once you get level 20, if you get Sundering Axe, is game over if you're like double warrior, double assassin. Because Sundering Axe takes 3% of your health, plus 1.5% of how many protections you have. And of course, when you're building Warrior's Axe or anything, you're either building hybrid or full tank. So you can build full tank on a warrior like Mulan, as long as you have Warriors / Sundering Axe and maybe like a Heartseeker, you're going to be doing crazy damage. So I think double warriors are going to be really good. Assassins are going to be really good, especially hybrid assassins, or even just regular assassins like Loki. If you go full damage on Loki with like upgraded Bluestone, Bluestone's Brooch, I believe, or whatever the hell it is, you're going to be doing insane amounts of damage. You're going to be doing so much damage, and not anything comparable to what it was before, at least at level 20. So that's going to be something you need to look forward to, and then not look forward to, but pay attention to. And then obviously with Sentinels, with mages and mages going Sands of Time, you no longer have to go Chronos Pendant. But if you do want to go Chronos Pendant, you have Conduit Gem. So you can go Conduit Gem into Chronos, or you could just go basically the same thing before, Sands of Time into like Spirit Distillation or Percent Pen or something like that. Hunter's gonna have Death's Toll. We're gonna have Arrow that gives you gold, so that's gonna be very interesting too. Definitely Death's Toll, as I think early game is going to give you a lot more sustain with your MP or your mana and your health, so you're really not going to die. Basically, all these starter items are going to make your early game really good, and then your late game even better. So yeah, watch out for the double tanks. I think that's going to be back. It's not going to be as oppressive as it once was, because hunters are still broken. Sorry, I keep saying broken. Hunters are still really good, and mages are still really good. They still chunk, even after their nerfs, but you know. So that's basically what's happening. Emp armor, really not much to go into. It's a very big change. You're not going to be able to, you're basically guaranteeing a slot for another item. So that should be, I think overall is a good change for Emp armor. I think Emp armor gave you the most bang for your buck without any type of skill in my mind. So I think Emp armor not being in that game is going to help me at least. And I think that's going to make the game a lot harder in terms of trying to siege towers. So, you know, those are basically all the changes. I'm going to be going over it in my video more in depth. Sorry if I rambled, but that's sort of, in my mind, what the basic idea of what I think is going to go down, at least in the Joust meta. Now, certain things may not be exactly the same, but this is just sort of off the top, sort of. I wrote some of it down here. I looked at a couple of these things. Most of this should be relatively accurate. There might be a couple things, but basically what I said earlier. I don't want to go too far into it, as I'll be rambling even more, but I'm going to be going over it more in another video, like I said. But yeah, that's basically all of that. And then after this, I did not see much of anything here. I kind of, actually, you know what I did is, I was at work, I looked at the Joust update, and I saw it, I was like, oh shit, now I have to watch this. And I like took a break for like 5 minutes to see what the fuck they were talking about, and I looked at it, I was like, oh no, what is happening? This is a huge change. And then as soon as they went past that, I was like, okay, I have to write shit down now. So I wrote down the entire script of like sort of the things that I'm gonna be thinking about when I record the video, so that should be up in the next couple of days. But let's move on to these items. So we have Lono's Mask. Reduced protection for our items requirement 50 to 45. Overall procs from items required goes from 250 to 225. Okay, so this should have already been done. This is very similar to Prophetic. They're sort of just reducing the protection requirement to get those mitigations. I believe that's what it is. I don't buy Lono's Mask a lot. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was a little worse off from what I remember than Prophetic, because at least with Prophetic, I think you got like protections. You get protections, and then the mitigations you get were sort of like an additive. I think Lono's Mask, from what I remember, is just based off of its passive, which is this. And if you didn't get the amount of protections to reach that minimum to get those mitigations, I believe it is, it was just kind of useless because the stats aren't all that great. So definitely just a, they call it a buff, but it's sort of what it should have already been like that. It should have been leveled off. Spartan Flag buff. This item, man. This item, they just can't make this item work, can they? Nobody still buys this item. But let's see. Spartan Flag. So this is the upgraded version. Increase gold per 5 seconds from 6 to 8. And now also provides 10% auto attack speed to allies in the area. Interesting. I don't know. I can't remember if it's the attack speed with while the flag goes down, because I think this is the one where it drops a flag, and within the flag radius you get certain things. And now I don't know if this is just passive by being near somebody, but I think this is in the area of the flag when it gets dropped down. So definitely better, but Sentinels is just better in my opinion. I don't think why you would ever need to go anything else. So this is good, but not that important. Base attack tank items. So Berserker's Shield. Decreasing cost from 2,400 to 2,300 gold. So 100 gold. Good. And then increased health threshold from 50 to 60. So yeah, once it gets down to 50%, that's when you were able to get the extra attack speed. And I think they changed this item so many times. I think it's definitely attack speed, but I think it's also a life steal. No, I don't think it's life steal anymore. But yeah, this is definitely an item that I think deserved a buff, especially seeing as a lot of the auto attack gods aren't that great right now. So this is definitely a step in the right direction. Yeah, I think that's overall a good change, a little bit of a tweak. And then we have Shogun's Kusari. Increased health from 100 to 150, and then increased magical protections from 40 to 5. So a small tweak, similar to the auto attacks not being that great. This is also a very good item that they need they need a buff. So this is definitely a good item that they should focus on. 45 is not all that much. It's decent, but it's not crazy. And then 50 health. It's just a small tweak, so definitely okay with that. And then underutilized healing items. Yeah, these items. Okay, so healing items, they just weren't doing the things that I thought they were. And I'm guessing Hi-Rez is seeing that now. These are the newest items. They're not good. They're not even like remotely okay. Even on the gods that heal, like your Afro or Hell, there's just better items to use. So this is whatever they're doing here. Better do something here, because I mean, let's see. Rejuvenating heart buff, increased healing dealt per stack from 6 to 10, and then decreased the max stacks from 8 to 5. Okay, so you're getting 50, whereas before you were getting 48 at max stacks. I'm reading that right. Yeah. Definitely better, 2%. But what really makes this better, I think, is the idea that now it requires a lot less stacks. So this item, I think, gives you more healing based on how many abilities you would use, I think, or you get hit by. I can't remember exactly what it was, but you get a stack, and per stack you get, well, now it's 10% healing, increased healing. So definitely good. You get less stacks, which means it's a lot easier to stack with the increased amount of healing. So definitely good. I don't think that's going to do much of anything. I've got to be honest. We're not really in a healing meta anymore, so I don't know how much that's going to affect anything. But Sekhmet Scepter, one of my favorite items that came out this year in terms of healing. So let's see how they did, my boy. So decreased cost from 25 to 24. Okay, very good. Decreased buff duration from 6 to 5, so making it passive a lot less longer. And then increased cooldown benefit from 0.5 to... Oh my lord. Okay, this is crazy, if I'm thinking about this correctly. So Sekhmet Scepter would reduce cooldowns based on your healing. And then I think per every ability that you hit, you get... So you heal, and then your passive procs to where now you get reduced cooldowns. And they increased it to 1 instead of 0.5 every time you hit an ability. And I think it happens once every second. So the max seconds you can get off beforehand was 3, but now it's 5, if I'm reading this right. Which means that gods like Guan Yu and Hercules might benefit more from this. A lot more, actually. Because now you can, if you're using your abilities right, like if you're using Guan's 3, after you heal you and yourself, you're already removing 2 seconds off because of Guan's 2. Then you have Sekhmet Scepter, which now for 5 seconds, if you hit somebody with your 3, which is easy, each second, you can get 5 seconds more. So you can have infinite cooldowns for, like, you could have 2 consecutive amounts of abilities being casted twice over, because I think the passive has a cooldown. But overall, definitely a lot better. I might actually go this on Hercules or Guan, as I think that's going to be the most oppressive. You just use your 3 as Guan, or I'm sorry, you use your 1, your healing, then you use your 3, you get all those procs, you have your 2 back up again, you use your 2, you can use your your 1, and then you can use your 2. I mean, you could just rotate the abilities over and over again, especially with Guan's 1, if that makes sense at all. Overall, really good item. Now I think it's a really good item. We'll have to see about that. And then we have physical ability damage items. We have Brawler's Beat Stick buff. So we're just decreasing the cost from 25 to 24. Okay, that's fine. Nothing too much there. It just means you're going to be able to get it on a lot faster. And then we have Heartseeker buff. Upper threshold change from 300 to 250. Okay. Thank you. Finally, they addressed this. I knew this was going to be a problem the day that they changed all of the damage to where they nerfed it all by 30 and 15%. I think it was 30% for it. Yeah, it was 30% of all items were just being taken down. Or all items were receiving a 30% nerf to their damage. Heartseeker's passive didn't let you scale up unless you had more than or up to 300 power. And nowadays you can't get 300 power. There's no way. All the damage in the game, you're never gonna reach that amount of power. And so until like the very late game, where you had like all your pots, your 3k pot, your 500 power pot, because you were never gonna get 300 power until like very late in the game. So Heartseeker kind of already took a nerf there, harder than any other of the items, in my opinion. So I'm very glad that they changed it from 300 to 250, because now you can get that sort of like middle late game instead of like late game, to where like you would actually get this online. And I think this is definitely something that should have already have happened, but I'm very glad it's happening now, because it just sucked, because you'd buy Heartseeker because it's such a good item, but the passive never got to that threshold, which always sucked, which is why I was always reluctant to buy it. But now I'm buying this. So next up we have the Crusher. It is getting a buff, so it's decreasing the cost from, okay, so another decrease by 100 gold. Crusher is a good item. I still think it's good. Increase attack speed from 15% to 20%. Okay, so they have been just tweaking Crusher's attack speed over and over again. They nerf it, then they buff it. Especially, I think it was it earlier this season? I can't remember, or if it was like last season, late last season. But Crusher used to be one of those items that was meta for hunters. Like first item, they would just go straight into a Crusher, and then, I mean, that's all you needed. You'd go from there. So they've been tweaking this, and I think at this point, it's definitely good, but I'm a little nervous on if we're going back to that meta. I don't think we are, because I think it was a lot more potent of an item back then, but I think hunters, we're going to be more beneficial on hunters more than anything, I think. So maybe later in the game you buy a Crusher, because it does have good percent pen. Maybe instead of buying the Titan's Bane, you go Crusher. Maybe. We'll see, because this is definitely going to shake up the meta, I think. Interesting. I think this is an interesting buff. And then we have mage items. Damn, are these all buffs? Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Bancroft's Talon plus glyph buffs. So, increase magical power from 70 to 80. Honestly, I'm honestly fine with this. The guys that really bought this were obviously like Anubis, Hades. Not anymore, but used to be like Freya, Kronos, Soul. I don't think this is a good item on them anymore, except for maybe like the Hades or Anubis, because of the power. And then I think they nerfed the passive a little bit. They were like messing with Bancrofts a lot. But now with the increase in power, I think this might be decent enough to potentially go on gods like Kronos or Soul, for example, or even Oleron, seeing as it's affecting the glyph too. So you'll have 80 power instead of 70. So the scaling will be a little bit better. You still have that upgraded glyph. You can either go into I can't remember what it's called. Nimble? No, wait. That was Nimble Rod when they had a Nimble Rod. The upgraded one that gives you attack speed, and the other one that gives you a shield, basically. So you have those options. I think those are... this item's okay. I think definitely needs a buff. I think it's better now. You're obviously still going to buy this on Hades or Anubis, for example, but... yeah, I think this needed a buff. Nobody bought this item. And then we go into the Book of Thoth buff. We have increased magical power from 60 to 70. To be fair, they nerfed the shit out of this item. It used to be like 100 power or something like that, and then they nerfed it with the damage reduction, and then they nerfed it even more, and then they nerfed it again. They nerfed it like 8,000 times because it was just in the meta for so long. They basically neutered it. So nobody bought this item. It was such a terrible item. But now they increased the power on the base form, and then on the evolved Book of Thoth, increased power, and then increased mana conversion from 6 to 7%. So now instead of 6% of your entire mana, it's 7%. It's only 1%, but that 1% it could be a lot. If you have like 3,000 mana, instead of getting like, what is that? Is that a 210? No. Yeah, you would have 180 power with 6%. I think you have 210 with 7. So that's definitely good. That's a lot more, especially with power scaling and mages. So definitely good. I still think that this item needed a buff. Just a little bit. I don't want it to be like destroying the meta like it was before, but definitely a buff. But not too much. Not too much. So I think this is fine. We'll see how that lands. And then Rod of Tahuti, I'm scared. Increased magical power from 100 to 110. Why? I don't get this. We just buffed mages. Like, mages are in a really good spot right now. I think they might actually be like a tiny bit overtuned, especially late game. They chunk late game, especially squishies. I think mages are fine where they are. I don't know why we're increasing damage for Rod. I think 100 was fine. 110, like, it's not too much, but this is exactly how we got the power creep last time. And I'm scared they're going to do this again because I don't really see I don't really understand why we're buffing Rod. Everyone buys Rod. And especially its upgraded versions. Its upgraded versions are really good, I think. They're not like the best, but they're really good. So I don't know why we're buffing this. We're gonna end up getting this power creep again. And it's gonna end up doing the same exact thing, unfortunately. If they keep doing this. Because I don't think Rod needed to be buffed. Everything else here is fine. It's a little bit scary to see that they're buffing a lot of mage items, but I think overall fine. But the Rod, I don't know about that one. But we move. So now we got buffs to gods. Ares, oh god. No, I'm saying god because fucking in Joust he's so oppressive. Conquest he definitely needed to probably buff, but I still think he was really, really good support, so. Let's see, Shackles, decrease cooldown from 15 seconds to 13 seconds. I don't like it. I don't play enough of Ares to like this, but also I don't want to have to deal with this shit. You're just gonna be endlessly shackled. And yeah, and I think there was like a bug to where like Ares can infinitely shackle you with like a certain build. I think some YouTuber did that shit, so I don't know if they changed that, but if they make it to where it's easier now, oh boy. I think overall it's fine, but I don't like going up against Ares. He's so oppressive. And then Bolster Defenses, this is his 2. Increase CCR from 10 to... okay, so it's just 30. Interesting. That is really interesting. So he's going to be oppressive even early games. So now you have 30% CCR near whenever you're near them. Or whenever you're near Ares. Sorry. Yeah, which also means that you're probably not leveling up your 2, nor did you really do it to begin with, but you're now you're using your 2 a lot, I guess. So I gotta be worried about that. Something you gotta take in mind, because 10 to 30 overall, just in one fellow swoop, there's no upgrading, it's just 30% flat out. That's a lot. So yeah, I have to see about that. RDO definitely needs a buff. So let's see, decompose. This is her passive. Decrease max stacks from 6 to 4. Increased protections debuff per stack from 2% to 3. So her passive gave, whenever you hit somebody with your abilities, I believe you reduce the amount of protections that somebody had percent-wise. So instead of it being 6 per 2, now it's 4 per 3. So it's still 12% overall. It just means like similar to the, what was the item? Oh, similar to Rejuvenating Heart. It's the same thing with her passive. Now it's going to be a lot easier to get these stacks, which means that you're going to be shredding their protections a lot easier. So that's definitely very good. She's in a very rough spot, at least recently. So her 1 in her base form is increased damage from 60 to 70 to 200 to 10. So it's 10 overall, I believe. Yeah, I'm doing the math right. Okay, so it's 10 overall in every single one. That's very small, but definitely base damage on her is going to do more than 8%. So, male prey, increased damage per swipe. So similar to her 1, that's her 1. Per swipe. Okay, so it's 5 extra. So 10 overall. Very similar to that. So it's basically the same thing. Very good. I think Ardio needs a buff anyways. So this is very good. Very good. Not too much, but still think they could probably buff her more. But I don't want her to be oppressive like she once was. So, all right. So Awilix, increased physical power scaling from 70% to 80%. This is her Moonlight Trust. This is a 3, I believe. I don't play her a lot. But increased power scaling from that's a whole 10%. That's a whole 10%. To be fair, I don't think her 3 did a lot of damage, but I don't think it needed to because it was just set up for your knockups. But I guess if you want Awilix to do even more damage than she already does, then I guess by all means. Gravity Surge. This is her ult, I believe. Increased attack speed from 30 to 50 to 70. Okay, so it seems as though it's a small... Oh, wow. Okay, no, I'm wrong. So 30, it's actually increased. So you get 20% more attack speed at your tier 1, and then slowly tapers off. There'd be 15 at tier 2, and then 5, no, 10, and then 5, and then... Okay, so it slowly scales off. It just means that your early part of your ult is going to be a lot more oppressive. I don't know if we needed to buff Awilix, but I guess. I don't really know too much about Awilix, but alright, that's interesting. Alright, Chalk. Chalk is one of those gods, man. He's either in the meta or he's kind of just bad. He's also a very noob-friendly type of god. So I guess that also is kind of hard to balance. Because a lot of people can... Whenever I go up against a Chalk, I'm not too scared. A lot of his abilities are pretty easy to, like, not get hit by. Especially his ult. Let's see, Torrent. This is his 2. Yeah, this is his 2, because the increased protection per stack from 4 to 20 to 5 for 25. So, it just looks like it scales up 3 and then 4 and then 5. So overall, it's just 1 increase per level you do it. So overall, just 5%. I'm sorry, 5 more protections when you fully stack it, and then decrease the stack cap from 5 to 4. Okay. Definitely a lot better on his 2. And then Rain Dance is his 3, decrease cooldown from 16 to 15. So very small tweak. Yeah, we'll see how that does with Chalk. Gilgamesh, the guy who just never stops getting nerfed. All right. So it looks like we're getting a buff here. Increased damage from 2.5 to 3% of his max health per hit. Okay. A little bit. You don't want to buff him too much, otherwise he's just going to destroy everyone. So I guess the small increase. Gilgamesh has not been in the meta, like, recently at all. I think this entire year. He's been an okay god, but not anything special. Heroes Advance, this is his 3. Increased damage from 60 to 70 to... Okay, so 10% overall. I'm sorry, 10 flat damage overall. Yeah, so this is very small. There seems to be a lot of very small tweaks that have been going on here, which is fine. We don't want to overbuff or overtune somebody. Lancelot, one of those gods that just... He's just not in the meta at all. Like, I don't think I've seen any Lancelot in the past fucking... This entire year. Nobody plays Lancelot. And I still think he's a relatively good god. I think he's undervalued, in my opinion. Alright, so Mount Up. I think this is his 3. Decreased time it takes to reach max health shield. Yeah, this is his 3. Health shield from 4 to 3 seconds. So you're getting that 1 second off to get that incredibly giant shield that you eventually get as Lancelot. And then Crashing Dive. This is his... I can't remember which ability it is, but it's when you're in his Mount Up horse part. Increased physical power scaling from 90% to 100. 100% scaling. That is a lot. That is a lot. They're sticking to Lancelot being an assassin. When in my opinion, I think Lancelot's really just a warrior. The way he plays, and the most impactful way I think Lancelot is played is as a warrior. Or played as a solo bruiser. But maybe they'll change him. I don't know. Might change him from an assassin to warrior. Maybe. We'll see. I think this was needed though. I still think he's not gonna be played as much though, but still think he's a very good underrated god. And then we have Medusa, scary for Joust. Medusa is a very good god in Joust. Acid Spray, increased base damage from 90 to 290 from 100 to 3. So 10 damage overall. That's her 2. And then increase power scaling from 80 to 85, so 5%. So you're going to be doing a little bit more damage with her too. That's going to probably help more with your wave clear than anything. And then Petrify, so her ult. Increased damage taken by enemies not looking at Medusa. Ooh, 75 to 85%. Honestly, I'm okay with this. I think as Medusa, whenever you ulted somebody, it felt like incredibly horrible. Because you're really never getting this off. Because most people just turn around, and then the damage that they do isn't all that significant. So definitely more rewarding for a Medusa player to ult, seeing as if you turn around, you're still doing damage to them. So I think this is all needed. I think this is really good. She's going to be a little bit better in Joust. Not too much, but yeah. Similar trend of all being small tweaks. Then we have Neath. Cooldown decreased from 13 to... Okay, now they're putting on a scale. So this is her 1. It's going to be 11 seconds now. Interesting. At max rank, instead of being at 13 for overall all ranks. This has been an interesting thing that Hi-Rez has been doing. They've been adding a lot of cooldown reduction in the abilities, a lot of gods recently, to where it slowly, incrementally falls down like this. So now you have more incentive to level up your 1, and now you have 11 seconds. And you usually build Neath pretty ability based, so this is going to be... What, if you're going like 30-40% cooldown, you're probably getting, what, like 7-second cooldown on this? I mean, that's pretty good. Unravel, this is her 2? Because I think her 3 is the backflip. Unravel, cooldown reduced. It's very similar to that by 2 seconds, both. This ability was listed as 15 seconds, but has been at 14. Oh, okay. So that was just like a bug that they had. Okay, very small, but they're going to make her a lot better, I think, as an ability-based god. That's sort of what I think they're trying to do here. Alright, New Wa. We're getting a buff to New Wa. Better be careful here. I don't want to do like her ult doing like half your health. Alright, Mysterious Fog, that's her 1. Increase the speed the fog moves from 300 to 380. Interesting. Now this is a very interesting thing here, because I think with New Wa, the biggest thing that they've struggled with is the damage, I think. And I think with the amount of movement speed and shit that people have, it's very easy to run around this. And so I think this is absolutely needed. This is very interesting buff. I actually kind of like this. So now it just moves faster. That's actually kind of crazy. And then Clay Soldiers. Increased number of soldiers spawned at rank 1 from 1 to 2. Wow, okay. So normally when you use your 1... Or I'm sorry, normally when you use your 2, you have your soldier out. You only have 1. And now it's 2. So it's going to be a lot easier to proc your 3 with the stun. Oh boy, New Wa. These are actually really good buffs. I actually like this. It's not the traditional damage route, which is actually cool. Especially seeing as you had to put like a point in your 2, I believe, to get 2. And it just felt so bad. But I guess now you don't. So that's actually kind of sick. I still think New Wa is kind of mid, but... definitely a lot better. Oh my god, please don't tell me we're buffing you. We're not buffing you, Huang, are we? Decreased the time to gain stacks from... Oh, this is passive, okay. Decreased time to gain stacks from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. Stacked gain from hitting an enemy god outside of combat increased from 1 to 2. Okay, so this is just his Dow. This is for his autos to get those... sort of like an oboe proc whenever you hit minions, so... the little chain in his auto, so that's fine. That's better for clearing. It doesn't do anything in terms of like actual fighting. Celestial Flight. Oh my god. Okay, cooldown decreased from 20 seconds at all ranks to 18. Why are we buffing Yu Huang's 3? Yu Huang is probably the safest mage in the game right now, and his 3, regardless of what it is, at 20 seconds, it was always up. That, or he has his ult to where he can use his ult, then use his 3 and get the fuck out. Now, instead of, you're usually getting 40% on like most mages. So now, if we're calculating 40%, let's say based on 20 seconds, it usually would have been like, what? What's 40% of 20? Probably like 11 or 12 seconds. Probably 12 seconds there. So now it's going to be 18, and 40% of 18... I mean, Jesus, now it's going to be on like a 10-second cooldown instead of like a 12-second cooldown. So you're never gonna die on Yu Huang even more than you normally would. I don't know why we're buffing him. Maybe it's just my bias because every time I play against him, they're usually good with him. So, unfortunate. I do not like that. Don't think he needed to buff, but whatever. We're not buffing Ravana. Okay, no, shifts. Okay, shifts. Ravana decreased health. This is passive. Health shield gain per stack from 8 to 7. Okay, so they're reverting this. They buffed it to 9%, I believe, and then they nerfed it to 8 in the last patch, and now they're nerfing it down to 7. I don't think 2% is going to do all that much. And then they're increasing the damage from the... Okay, so they're just... Are they just, like, flip-flopping what they just did in 10.7? Like, they just did this. The only thing is that the 3 was buffed and they didn't change that. Okay, this is really weird. I still think Ravana's going to be still one of the best gods. I still think he plays like a warrior like he used to. I just don't think people were playing him as much as a warrior as he used to. So I still think he's going to need to get nerfed. I think Ravana was one of those gods where it's like he was busted, but nobody knew he was busted in the form that he is now, especially with the new items and stuff like that. So either that or they're going to have to reduce item changes for Ravana, which I don't think is the right way to do it. I think nerfing Ravana more is probably the better thing to do here. 2% is not much at all. I've got to be honest. In terms of his shield, especially if he's being tanky. So not too much of anything here. He's going to be a little less oppressive, I guess. Not too much. It's only 1%. But all right, now we move into the nerfs. Charon. Decreased max health contribution from 3% to 2.5. Very iffy. I think Charon's not all that good, to be honest, in my opinion. So I mean, if you're nerfing him, I guess it's fine. But people seem to think that he's really good. I mean, he's good, but he's just not like all that good. He's very skill based, and he doesn't have a lot of setup. I'm sorry, he doesn't have a lot of peel. He has a lot of setup, but he doesn't have a lot of peel. So if they're decreasing the max health contribution for this, that's fine with me. He's an Ami nerf. Interesting. So decreased penetration per stack from 4% to 3%. I do not play Izanami at all. I hate this god. This is her passive, I believe. Is this her passive? I want to be honest with you guys. I don't actually know. 4% to 3%. I guess. I don't know. Mercury, special delivery. So this is his 3. I do know this god. Decreased physical power scaling per tick from 20% to 16. So it was 20% of the power that you have. So now it's 16, which means that seeing a special delivery ticks 4 times. The total decrease instead of, yeah, so they're just timesing it by 4. Okay. Mercury was definitely really good, especially in the high-end games. Definitely a really impressive god, regardless of like the recent nerfs they made to crit. So very good, very good. I actually hate going up against Mercury, especially as 3. They did actually deceptively a lot amount of damage. And then of course the Wukong nerf definitely needed to happen. Let's see, his passive. This is his passive, Undefeated Body. Decreased physical power gain per level from 2 to 1.5. Okay, so his passive... Yeah, so his passive was one of those things where you'd get 2 per level of protections and power. So you got 2 power and 2 protections per level. So at max level, you'd be getting 40 of each. 40 protections and then 40 power. Now they returned it to, or not returned it, they changed it to 1.5. So now instead of it being 30, I'm sorry, instead of it being 40, you're now having 30 power. So it's slashing it by 10. Okay. Yeah, Sun Wukong has been a menace recently, so definitely the power is what really needs to be focused here. Yeah, this is actually a really good nerf. I like this. They may need to nerf some of like the base damage to the other abilities, like his 1 and his 2, if he's still like disgusting. Susanoo, definitely another god that was really busted, especially in those high-level games. Wind Siphon. Decreased power scaling from 75 to 70%. Very good, I like that. And then Typhoon. Decreased physical power scaling of the max damage. Fire of this ability from 125 to 150. So 10% decrease and a 5% decrease. Overall, really good. He was just like he's really hard to go up against, especially if he's really good. or the player that's playing him is really good. So definitely very good. It's a very oppressive god, so I'm very glad that they did this. And then finally we have Zhong Kui. Demon Bag. Yeah, I think I made a video about this. Zhong Kui hybrid is just built better. Definitely one of the things they overlooked when they nerfed all of the protections. I think they actually buffed him. I think his passive. So instead of the 1.5 per stack, which I believe stacks up to 60 protections of each, and that with 1.5, and now they changed it to 1.2, which is, well, 12 times that's 4, so 48. If I'm doing the math right, instead of 60, it's 48. If I'm doing that correctly, I think that's the math. 48 protections of each is still a lot. 60 was just disgusting. You'd get up to like 200 protections if you just were like near somebody with like prophetic, and you had like maybe a Stone of Binding, for example, just for like extra prots. You'd have so much protections while just doing an incredible amount of damage. So I think this was needed. I don't think a lot of people played Zhong Kui, but still needed a nerf. And then I think that's it. What is this? Non-conquest god changes. Okay, here we go. This is what we're looking at here, boys. Let's see. Aphrodite nerf. Thank you. Plus 10% non-ultimate cooldowns. Thank you. And then plus 20% ultimate cooldowns. So I think they're adding the percentage of the already cooldown and then increasing it. So if it let's say that Aphrodite's ult was a 90-second cooldown with a 10%, with 20% cooldown, ultimate cooldown, instead of it being 90, now it is what, 108 seconds, I believe. 20% of 90 is 9, 18 plus 90 is 108. Yeah, 108 it would be the cooldown. For example, I don't remember what her exact cooldown number is, but increased non-ultimate, so she's not gonna have her abilities up as quick. Ganesha nerf, very good. Needed that. Let's see, 5% non-ultimate cooldowns, 10% ultimate cooldown, very good. Same thing with Afro. Janus nerf, interesting. Remove non-conquest buff, plus 10% damage dealt to gods. I don't know about you. This reminded me, whenever I play against Janus in Joust, for example, he like 60% hits me with his 2, and then his ult just one-shots me, bro. This shit is ridiculous. Nobody really played Janus, but when somebody played Janus, he crushed people's teams. Actually ridiculous. Plus the percent pen in his ultimate, getting up to 20%. Jesus Christ, he crushed. So I'm actually fine with this. Kuzenbo nerf, thank you. Minus 5% damage dealt to gods. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking whenever they tried to do a non-conquest buff to Kuzenbo. The man was OP. He's still OP. Even with the nerfs right now, he's still fucking OP. Just a little less, you know, minus 5% damage dealt to gods. He's going to be doing less damage, and then he has increased non-ultimate cooldowns. Honestly, that should be more than 5%, in my opinion. But I'll take what we can get. New on nerf, minus 5% damage dealt, and then 10% ultimate cooldown. I'm pretty sure this is, since this is non-conquest, this has to be for like arena slash or what's the other one? Shit, can't remember it. But this isn't for Joust because New Wall is not really good in Joust, so I'm fine with that, I guess. New Wall never played. Odin nerf. Odin's gonna be very good coming up, so 15% ultimate cooldown. His ultimate is his main thing, so I'm absolutely fine with this. Sobek nerf, thank you. Sobek is the most oppressive god in Joust currently, I think, outside of like Achilles and Neja, for example. 10% non-ultimate cooldowns, absolutely needed. I think they should do more, but that's fine. I'll take what I can get. Chernobog buff, minus 15% ultimate cooldown, so that's going to be coming on sooner. That's fine. Daji buff, minus 10% damage taken. I don't know if I want to see Daji a lot, but we'll see. Hunbat's buff, having a quicker cooldown, non-ultimate cooldown, I mean. And then taking 10% less damage. Interesting. Okay, so similar to Daji. And then finally, the Morgan buff. Ultimate cooldown reduction. That's good. I'm fine with that. Morgan is a very fun god to play with, but she wasn't really all that good. Generally speaking. I know some of you mains are crazy with her, but That's it. Very interesting. Not too long, but pretty long update. Overall, it was just very small tweaks to gods like cooldowns, percent, scaling. New all had been very interesting. Cooldowns were basically it. Were the base thing. A little bit of damage increase, not too much. Base damage, cooldowns, basically all that. And then the damage for items went up slightly for mages, and then gold cost went down a little bit for a couple of these items. Heartseeker that's very good. I love the Heartseeker buff that needed to be happening. That already needed to happen. Then we have this Sekhmet Scepter is going to be very fun to play with. I think it's going to be very good on gods like Guan Yu and Hercules. Some small tweaks to auto attack gods, and then that's not very anything. But the main thing for the conclusion for this is Joust. If you watch me for Joust, like I said, I'm going to be making a video for that, but everything I said earlier I think is going to be basically the same. I'll have that video out here soon so you guys can take a look at it before the update drops. But yeah, I think that's basically it. Oh, and then of course, Soul Surge is being removed. Thank you. Hated it. Appreciated the innovation, but I hated it. Thank you for getting rid of it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. My friend wasn't able to come. He's very busy right now. But I think for the most part, that's fine. This is going to be like close to an hour long, which I know a bunch of you don't like, but it's, you know, that's just how I roll. You know, I'm very in depth. But that's pretty much it. If you guys have any suggestions, feedback, if you think I'm wrong on anything, let me know. If you have a different type of perspective on it, let me know. Tell me in the comments. Roast me like I always say. I don't care. Just get, you know, if you want to say something, do it. But yeah, comments, feedback, much appreciated. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching.